Hello everyone, it's Uncle Destiny back with you this week. Sorry to cut this a little later than I expected, but I think we'll definitely have this up before we get to April 1, which is April Fool's Day. Now, I want to remind you all that this is a reading for the month. More specific requires more individualized readings. Now, what's important to also keep in mind is why we have the term April Fool's Day. This was a day that was associated as the pagan New Year, which tied with the aspect of the seasonal New Year, as well as some would consider the Zodiac New Year. But because this was the aspect of the Christians of the time attempting to bring the more pagan or spirit or earth-based religions into their field in Europe, they basically combined them and basically made this April Fool's because of the holiday shift and the yearly shift. Now, there are a number of trickster deities, Coyote, Ananse, Eshu, who like to take advantage of a trickster day. So consider that April 1st is a day to also celebrate tricksters. So let's go ahead and get the ancestors and the spirits in and see what they want to say for the month of April. All right, so we have thrown the bones and we have got the dice that came up with the number 2. So that tells us that this is about the second house, which is about money, values, work, daily routines, and the environment. And what we got over here with the Adinkra is an altar of God, presence of God, and of all God's protection. So there are ways that God protects environment. There are ways that God protects are protected and are in the presence of God in our daily routines. There are ways that we are under God's protection in the presence of God in our values and our work. And I slowed down on the aspect of money because there's ways that we need to reestablish and re-understand our relationships with money. Because there are ways that the goal of money has been poisoning us. And especially when it comes to the aspect of God is the much often known as prosperity theology. In the aspect that God wants us to succeed and be prosperous, which is very true. It's just not all dependent on the numerical value of the money that you hold in your bank account. And this is what ties into our sense of what our work is, which is our soul's purpose for reincarnating in this world to live and enjoy life, but also God's purposes or the divine creator's purposes in the environment that is around us. So what we see here for the month of April with the bones is that there's kind of a spray, and it's kind of all over the place. So as here up in the northern hemisphere, spring is the start of the new pollination season. So we've got a lot of pollen floating around, which also means there's a lot of things that are floating on the wind. And in doing so, there's a lot of also things and energy that is floating on the wind. So this bone here is work, this one is family, and this one is social. So how does this all play in? So the work bone, which is angled off in this direction here, has several of the support and rib bones, which says to me that there's going to be a lot of stuff about how we find inspiration in this new seasonal year that has come upon us about our work. But there's going to be more about what is inspiring us, what is driving us, but how do we also be balanced in that? Because if we don't balance, we will burn ourselves out. And the biggest thing to keep in mind, especially this month, because there's going to be some demands on time and requests for time, is that you are taking time to work on yourself, to take care of yourself. Now, this doesn't just mean spa days and so forth, or continuing and push yourself on learning. This is about your downtime, that time that is yours and yours alone. A recent meme that I saw floating around was talking about persons of free time. It doesn't mean they're available. That free time is theirs to do with what they want. And so this time we're going to be balancing our inspiration and our balance in our work and finding that there. Over here, we have the home bone, which we also have another balance bone, but we have the top of the vertebrae. And in this case, I'm seeing it as the vertebrae. So this is a lot about the energies that we have around our home and our sense of home, what it's thinking about, what we're balancing about, what are we thinking about the notion of it, and making sure that it is the space that is nurturing us for health and growth, especially the idea of the spring clean, which was about clearing out the dust, clearing out the old, and inviting that new energy in. Now we tie that also again to the set of dice in the second house, is how are we looking at the energies around what our home brings in for that sense of money. The value in the house, but the value of what we bring in to make the house more sustainable, more of a home that we want to be in, not in a place that we want to avoid. With everything that's happened with COVID and being stuck indoors, yeah, a lot of people don't want to be indoors again, especially as we're moving into the spring. But you still need a place to sleep. You still need a place to sit and have breakfast in. And what is the value you're putting into that? You have been in these four walls because of COVID for a while. How are you going to make this next year, as we try to begin to move out of this, or at least move into a new state? How are you seeing the difference about your home? The money it brings, the money and value you spend on it or that you will spend on it. The value of where you live and why you choose to live there. The value of how you've made this space your workspace if you were able to. How has it played into your daily routines and how has it played into the environment? That's all the same things we're going to be seeing here with the work bone. How have you had your work have value? And the values that represent what and why you spend your energy to work. And again, not just what you do to pay the bills, what you also do in that time to make this world better and live in it. What are the values? What are the monies? What is the daily routines? What is your sense of work? And how is it also in relation with the environment? So these two, their proximity are coming together around these things. So we want to be very conscious of that. So when we move over here to the family or social bone, you see it's floating on top of the shell, which is turned inward. So again, we are focusing a lot on what's going on inwardly for us. We have a number of the other support bones, but most importantly, we have the broken rib bone here between it and spirit. And spirit is watching. It's watching heavy. And it's watching to see really what has happened in this last year. The sort of sin, this is the pause in the trials to see what you've successed. What have you successed and what have you sensed? This is about what is that inner choice. You're getting that chance. We're getting that chance to pause and say what we have learned, what we haven't learned, what we need lesson. Because let's be frank, I see the broken rib bone right here, the one that kind of looks like a knife. Spirit can either give us the knife, it can give us support, and it can give us balance. Which one of the three do you want? Pick that, because this is something that we're seeing with a bigger societal image. Right now, I know there is the trial going on in regards to George Floyd. We have to be very conscious about the energies that are being put in there and what it means for us as a larger whole, because there are those who sadly are going to be focusing on the principle that he's going to get acquitted, which is something many of us really don't. The others are hoping that justice will be done. The question is, which way will it fall? And that's also where we're going to be looking to having that sense of, are we operating with God's protection? Are we operating with justice? And justice does not look like what the legal system is. The legal system is about laws, which deal with a physical representation, as opposed to also with the emotional justices. And that can be different than physical justice. And that's some of what we are looking to have in this month of April. But again, it is going to be a balance of what have we learned and what have we understood in this time that we have been in our homes, taking our sense of connection with people. Whatever comes of the trial is also going to have its effect on our sense of who we are. And Which of these three do you want Spirit to give? Which of these three Spirit is ready to offer, but it will notice which one you will take, and it will be ready to give you that blade if it needs to. Because it really is trying to see, have you learned from this experience? Have you gone past the selfishness? Have you changed your values with money? Have you changed your values at all? Have you changed your values of work? Have you seen your daily routine in a new way? Have you seen the importance of the environment? All of those things are time to see what you've learned and whether or not you have to do the lesson over again, which I don't think many people want to do another period of another great distress. So be conscious about what an answer you're going to give. And that's why the quartz is also here next to this sort of triangular set, in the sense of, what have you learned from this experience? What is the memories that you're taking from this? Are they just the taking of the aspect of, boohoo, I can't go out? That only I am the most important thing in the world? Or that we are connected and we are trying to protect all of us? So, what is the memories that have been made in this time, and what are you taking away with it? A heart full of love and connection to others, a heart full of selfishness and anger. I've got a few other bones floating around here. Definitely some of the ribbon balance. So there's going to be a lot of thought that's going on in this next month, and a lot of thought that's going to affect how people have and use money. So I think there's going to be some money issues in the world that come up, as well as, again, some redistribution of the stuff. Have you shown that your values around these things, have they been working? Are we working in a more conscious way that ensures that we are being mindful of what we're building? And are we operating with a daily routine that also benefits not just us, but the environment? All of these things are being done in the presence of God and are of God's protection. But God can also take away that protection. The Spirit can take away that protection. The ancestors can take away that protection. And that's all in how you answer the question. So, how will you answer it? This is Uncle Destiny. On behalf of the ancestors and spirits, choose your answer wisely.